Hello, welcome to the Safety for Nonprofits Orientation Program, Part 1. My name is Jack Geiser, and I'm joined today by Sharon Schindel, our leader of the Arizona Safety for Nonprofits team. Our purpose today is, first of all, to thank you for becoming an S4NP, Safety for Nonprofit volunteer. Thank you for clicking on that link on our website. So we're going to talk about what is next. And there are two parts to the orientation. This is a short orientation session here on this recording. So really what we want to do, Sharon and I, will be to describe what is Safety for Nonprofits, why was it formed, and how do you get started? Our whole goal is to prepare you so that you can deliver services to a nonprofit charity organization in your community. And the last part of what we do in the onboarding process after completion of part 2 of the orientation is have you sign the code of conduct. And that really guides us as we perform our work with Safety for Nonprofits. So moving to the mission, we are committed as an organization, we're all volunteers, to increasing the awareness of workplace safety and health at nonprofit organizations and delivering pro bono, no charge services of a professional advisory nature in occupational safety and health to charities. So that is our purpose. Just a little bit about the nonprofit sector. It is incredibly diverse. There's over 1 million nonprofit organizations that are recognized by the U.S. Internal Revenue Service. Within those nonprofits that are in every community in the U.S., there are approximately 13 million employees and 60 million volunteers. You can see the names of some of the well-known large national nonprofits that you would recognize: the Red Cross, Habitat for Humanity, the YMCA, YWCA. These are all examples of 501c3s. And in particular, if they're smaller and they have few resources, these are the types of charities that we're trying to help as the safety and health community in our own towns and cities. Just a little bit more about the nonprofits and workplace safety and health. Many nonprofits are struggling just to make payroll, to keep the doors open, the lights on. And in most cases, unless they've had an accident or a near miss, they don't see safety as something that really needs much attention. And unfortunately, we all know as safety and health professionals that you can't just count on luck, that you have to proactively understand the risks and then manage the risks that are unacceptable. So really what we're about as an organization is that we're a nonprofit who helps other nonprofits be safer and better. And we do this with all volunteer labor. The Safety for Nonprofit volunteers provide their support pro bono. We do not charge the organizations, the nonprofits that request and receive our services. So just a little bit about, again, really, is there a problem in terms of injuries and illnesses amongst the workforce in the nonprofit sector? And this includes both the 13 million employees as well as 60 million volunteers who work 50 or more hours a year. And there's several studies that have been carried out by the Bureau of Labor Statistics and NIOSH that have looked at the experience of fatalities amongst volunteer workers and also at the nonprofit sector, but not in detail. And what they found is that on average, there is one volunteer worker in America, just by example. This doesn't include the employees at nonprofits, but volunteer workers in America, on average, one dies each week performing volunteer work. So this particular bar chart here is just comparing the paid workforce versus the volunteer workforce, and the causes of workplace fatalities. Next slide. So some specific examples. Recently, in the last several years, the left-hand example, a news clip, is a news report of a volunteer at a canine rescue facility operating in Florida, and she was attacked by a dog and died. Another volunteer, the news clip is from a horrible accident at a food pantry in California, where a volunteer was struck by a car during the distribution of food. So, not to dwell on, just the most serious incidents, but these are examples that illustrate that just because someone wants to do well and help others in the community does not protect them from injuries on the job, whether they're a volunteer or an employee. Next slide. So I don't want to get into a lot about the administration and back office support for safety for nonprofits, but what this is showing here is that over the last 5 years, a group of us like-minded safety and health professionals came together, saw that there was a need for safety for nonprofits. At the end of 2018, we looked around to identify whether or not our professional organizations already had something that would help safety and health professionals deliver services to nonprofits in a pro bono manner. We found that there was really no organization. We discussed the matter with leadership in several organizations, from the Industrial Hygiene Association, American Society of Safety Professionals, and other occupational health and safety groups, and discovered towards the end of 2019 that there was no such group, but that there was a compelling need for us to establish a mechanism for our profession to give back. And that's when we decided to form our own nonprofit corporation, and that was at the start of 2020. We call that phase 2, and that's where we perform the design and build of our organization. And over the next 2 years, we built the system, we recruited some volunteers, and at the start of 2022, we, at that point, had acquired our professional liability insurance to cover our S4NP volunteers and our officers and directors. We had developed our operations management system, and we were able to launch our services to nonprofits in multiple states in the year 2022, and here we are in 2023. So next slide.
So I'm going to speak a little bit about the scope of services that Safety for Nonprofit offers. Really, we're focusing a lot on the idea of an on-site consultation. You come, you meet with the folks at the nonprofit, really discuss what the issues that they're seeing. And as safety and health professionals, we know there's sometimes no substitute for being on site and seeing what the issues are to help. We work with them to develop maybe a safety and health program, do a risk assessment, provide a report that risk ranks what the hazards at their site is, and then what are some recommended solutions, perhaps safety training, do they need better emergency planning? And we also have offered virtual advisory services if we have expertise in another location that can help them remotely. So what's our organizational structure? We do have a board of directors and an executive committee that are responsible to making sure that we're staying true to our mission, working with outside organizations like Jack mentioned, with the various professional organizations to make sure that we're continuing to let people know about our organization, and then kind of making sure that we have funding and managing any issues with code of ethics violations, which has not been an issue to date. Here is so the folks that are on our leadership team. We've got both an executive committee that does the sort of day-to-day operations, and then the board of directors that make sure that we're staying close to our mission. We also are structured with state leads, and the state leads are really responsible for volunteer recruitment, making sure that the volunteers really understand what their scope is, and working with local nonprofits to find clients and scoping out any work that we do with them. Um, Identifying clients either through organizations that we already work with or organizations that contact us, and then making sure that the state program adheres to that mission and making sure that we're not violating our code of conduct and we're not delivering services that are beyond our capabilities and are better served by referring the client to a consultant. Um, Now we get down to the level of the volunteers. The volunteers, one of the most important thing is really finding potential safety for nonprofit clients, either an organization that you're familiar with and already working with, or somebody that you're aware of, reaching out to them and saying, hey, we have this organization that can help you, um, proposing what work needs to be done to that client, and then what the scope is of what the work that we're going to deliver, and then finally delivering services that's within our scope. And then in the next presentation, in the next section, we're going to talk a little bit more detail about how you achieve that.
Excellent. Thank you, Sharon. Nice summary. So we're just coming to the end of our first part. This is a short part again. Thank you for becoming a volunteer with us. As we complete the second part of this and you sign the code of conduct, we will then connect you with a state lead, as Sharon mentioned. So this is a key part of the process. And, you know, again, our purpose is to deliver services to the charities, the nonprofits in our communities. And we're agnostic on that, in that we want our volunteers to work with the charities that they support, that they believe in, that they have passion about. And so if you are affiliated with such a nonprofit, we want to certainly complete this with you and get you set up to deliver services. And again, this is the end of the first part. And the second part will cover more details on the how-to and the next steps for you. And we'll finish that with signing the code of conduct. So thank you again and have a good day.